So as you can see, the smart market is a little different today. Paul is on vacation, so it is going to be slightly condensed and not nearly as many slides. This is the slide. Welcome to today's smart market call. And now we can get rid of this slide and tell you that we have a guest today, Charles DeLaTorre from Industrial Forest Products. We're going to get to him in a minute. And now I can stop sharing and we're going to go straight to Ashley. Ashley Buckholt, come in.
Hey, can you hear me okay, Mike?
Yeah, you can go a little louder, but
okay. Right. I don't know how much my speaker, how close it is here. I just want to talk real quick about the market. And the interesting thing that we saw this week, everybody's talking about how wide the basis is. What that means is how wide the actual cash market is trading to the futures market. And it's about as wide as I've seen it. Does that make sense, Mike? About as wide as we've seen it, right? And
it's as wide as we've seen it for quite a long time.
Quite a long time. So what it really means is if somebody can buy something undervalued or buy 4-inch, buy the cash, sell the board, they can, in theory, lock in that $150 to $200, $8,000. If you think about that, the percentage on that annualized is amazing. Now, we think that some of the reasons people aren't doing that, one, people have run out of bullets. They basically, when we think of them doing this, we just look at what it is today, but we forget that they've bought all the way down and the margin requirements are so high, I don't think people want to have margin calls. So that's actually very telling that people aren't closing that basis, right? Another thing that's going on is guys really don't need wood right now. They want it in September. So that's why you look at those back months. People really need the market to come back to them to move some inventory. Multifamily has bought a lot along the way, and we ran into this calling reloads this week, how there was a lot of wood with non-traditional players at reloads. Our housing is still strong. The engineered products have started to loosen up, which should mean job sites should start loosen up. Labor is another question. So forest fires, this is one interesting thing I want everybody to really listen to on this one, right? So you always want to know the path that information takes and what's going on. You know, there's probably going to be some more announcements, but let's make sure we know exactly what's going on. I think what we want to look at is what does these announcements really mean? These mills are still running some of their facilities, right? They make an announcement that they're going to take off 1,000 cars, but they don't get specific about where they're going to do it and how they're going to do it. So I challenge everybody to go look into the details and find those out first. Home center business has been very slow. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of this inventory that is cut just for the home centers is pushing back at mills, especially 96-inch studs and high grade products. In some cases, I heard home center business was down 80% from its high. That's a big number. Panel market is starting to loosen up. It's a little more sticky because there's less producers, less opportunity to get reported. But what we're seeing on the materials exchange site is panels trading significantly off the index pricing. Print versus spot today on all the items. A lot of people were waiting for print to come out to do business today on certain items like 104 and 5/8, 2x4, 2 and better. I think one of the things we're going to see is a lot of the cheap cash business traded yesterday bounced and mills firmed their price back up. You still have shutdowns, I should say, vacations in the east, where there's 4 or 5 mills that have rolling shutdowns for vacation. So I don't think they're in a position where they have to they did what they had to do over the last week. So now we're going to see what the market really has. And I don't know. We could go up significantly from here. We could stall out and be right back where we're at again. I always have a hard time looking at the reason things bounce because people close things. That means that when they open them back up, we're in the same situation we were before. So you can all make up your own minds on that. Mike, I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, I just want to highlight 2 things. First, Ash, you said we could bounce, we could go up from here, we could stay where we're at. We could go down from here. You know, if everybody exactly knew what was going to happen, they positioned for it, and then the opposite would happen because they're positioned for it. The second thing I want to highlight, and this kind of plays into the conversation we're going to have with Charles, is so lumber futures is a very specific thing. 2x4s from Western Canada delivered in the 2-week period from this. If you're looking at September, from September 15th to October 1st. That's all it is. It's nothing more. It is not the market today. It is not the market on Southern Yellow Pine. So there, of course, there's a correlation between the two, and there's a relationship. But when we take a look at futures market, the only way you can actually interact with it is if you have the capacity. Let me rephrase that. You can interact with it all you want. To take advantage of a basis trade, like Ashley pointed out, you have to have the capacity to put that trade on, which takes two things, well, three things. It takes time, it takes money, and it takes space. If you don't have those three things, you can't put on a basis trade. So what I'm looking at in this basis, where futures for 2x4, 2 and better Western spruce is higher than today's cash market, is that people are willing to pay more in September for September shipment than they are for today. That's it. It's just that simple. So with that, I want to introduce Charles DeLaTorre. He's up in the front top center for me on my screen. And actually, I'm going to share my screen one more time for his company, Industrial Forest Products. Good morning, Charles. Say hello.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
We are all good. So we're going to break the ice real quick. Charles, what was your first car, the first automobile that you could claim as your own?
A Jeep Grand Cherokee, navy blue one. And I actually bought, that was the first car I had when I was 17 years old. And then I bought another one when I was 20 because I liked it so much. And then Chrysler kind of went like this in quality. They put it all into the Dodge Charger. So I'm not a Jeep guy anymore.
Did you buy it brand new or was it a?
No, it was used.
How old was it?
Used. Probably about 10, 15 years old.
A little bit of rust, maybe?
Yeah, 135,000 miles on it.
Now, did that truck ever get stuck somewhere too far deep in the woods?
Yeah, it did. Power lines were a suck for us. We ended up there quite often in high school and college. So it is what it is.
Isn't that the truth about a four-wheel drive? You're going to get stuck. You're just going to get stuck further away from the road.
That is a very, very fair assessment because you think you can survive more. And that's usually not the case. You just dig deeper.
You just get deeper. Yeah,
that's right.
So how did you get into this lumber business?
My background actually was primarily industrial wood packaging. I worked for a company and I was very successful at selling and closing business on the finished goods side. It was basically a brokerage house, and I was top 3 sales rep the 5 years I was there. After that, I looked at a way to venture out on my own and, enjoyed the lumber business, enjoyed the camaraderie, enjoyed the partnerships, and really the trust that goes into building that relationship. And I'm a self-taught lumber trader. I traded stock in college, and it just made sense. Understanding volatility, understanding economics, understanding arbitrage opportunities, and really putting pen to paper and being a physical item, it just clicked. So I started out in early 2016, went out on my own, had an office and a phone and a Dell computer. Office is probably about 150 square foot that I subleased from one of my buddies. And we grew it from there. We went from that to about a 1,400 square foot office, admin, 2 other traders. And then in October of 19, we vertically integrated and bought one of our partner manufacturing facilities 1 town over. So we were brokering some wood packaging through this manufacturing facility when we purchased it. We were actually their second largest customer, so it kind of made it a no-brainer. And after we dove into it, I'm not a manufacturing guy personally. I'm a sales guy through and through. I'm good at building relationships. I'm good at expressing value and really trying to instill urgency, especially when you have volatile market moves like we've seen over the past, 18 months. So the manufacturing was a learning curve. We got kicked in the shins and we took our licks and we just kept moving. We expanded our industrial wood packaging side, but we also added 2 other facets. So now that we have this facility in Bishopville, We also do some wholesale distribution. We have 3 stud trim lines, and on those trim lines, we process 3 major species: European spruce, Canadian spruce, and southern yellow pine. And it's given us the opportunity to diversify our product offering, bring more value to the end user, and at the end of the day, quite frankly, save people money, because it is a commodity, right?
Now you have the ability to actually grade stamp, like you.
Yes, we do. European spruce, we have the ability to grade stamp and trim to any stud length, custom stud length, commodity stud length, shed trims, so on and so forth. That's exactly right.
So, but you said it's only for European spruce. What about?
Yep.
So why can't you grade Canadian spruce or southern pine?
Okay, so you've got some very intricate things that happen when you start remanning and regrading southern yellow pine. A majority of how it's done is you're taking a 2x8, you're ripping it, right? And you're turning it into a 2x4, you're taking a 2x10 or what have you and turning it into a 2x6. So the way we decided to get our feet wet and really test the market and make sure that we don't get kicked in the shins in this process, because we've experienced that enough in the past,
Right.
is kind of take it slow, right? Take a product that we're getting a fair amount of volume on, and how do we take it from just a no grade stamp product to a premium grade marked item that we ship out with our own paper wrap, our own tags. It is IFP stock. It's all visually graded, so it's not done by a machine. So what we like to call it is a premium number 2 and better, because anytime we get audited, we're at 99.8% success. And you're allowed about a 5% variance on what makes grade and what doesn't on any given unit.
A quick question, and this is the same question I actually had in my head. So you can PET, which stands for precision end trim, southern yellow pine, and keep that number 2 and better stamp, correct?
You can. So per ALSC, you can cut up to 24 inches off of any stick and keep that original grade mark. So when we're cutting southern yellow pine, we cut 10s back to 9s or 10s back to 1/16s or 8s back to 92s or 93s, right? We do a lot of custom cuts for manufacturing modular housing, whether it's floor joists, roof rafters, so on and so forth, to where we're cutting 16s back to 184s, 127s, so on and so forth. The other thing, just to kind of key on and instill some value as far as our finished good outside of the branding and our capability, we hold a 30-second or less tolerance on any product that leaves our door. So also per the ALSC, the rule is you have up to 20%, and I could be wrong, but I think it's 20% in a total piece count that can be up to 1/8 of an inch variance, right? Well, we're doing better than that in anything we send out the door. And that's the goal, because that's where the true value is, because you get 100% yield out of any unit that touches a multifamily job site, out of any unit that touches a residential site or a manufactured housing line. And that's the name of the game, because anytime you have to cull units or pieces or something short, it's money thrown in the trash. And I think that is where we found our stronghold and where we found our competitive edge to gain market share.
Now, it's interesting you say that. You're down to a 30-second. At Materials Exchange, we're having our first ever quality claim. We're in the process of this right now. It was 104 5/8 studs. The guy called up and said, these are 104 3/8. So we went back to the seller, and the seller had a couple of the units still in his yard. He goes, he's 100% correct. These are 104 3/8. And they came from a remanufacturing facility in Quebec, right? So I've been in the industry long enough to know that remanners have a bit of a stigma about their product, right?
Definitely.
I mean, obviously, one of the things you're doing is making a quality product, but how do you work through that stigma? What can you do to change the perception of remanners, which I'm telling you is not that wrong of a perception, because I'm in the middle of a claim right now. But is there something with your saws that is different, or
well, it's the quality we expect. So I mean, each unit is checked. We have a process to where we instill the guys that are on that production line to make sure that we meet that 30-second or less expectation via measuring tape, right? It takes a little bit longer. but it's what we do to ensure that 100% yield capability. And the other side of it is too, is to overcome the stigma. The number one thing that we say is just try it. I mean, if it's not what you expect it to be, or it's subpar compared to what you're getting from somewhere else, we'll take it back and we'll sell it to somebody else that we know will buy it.
So just walk me through the process a little bit. I've been to the BCMC show and you see all these high-tech saws and stuff. And I mean, you set up 2 saw blades and run the thing through. How could it not be the distance between the damn saw blades? Like what can go wrong? I don't get it.
You've got twists, you've got, you know, especially when it comes to Southern Yellow Pine, we're kind of a stickler on that to make sure that there's not a twist, not a lot of twist, not a lot of check, because as it feeds through the chain and it feeds through that saw and you've got an even ender that net zeros it, right? It has to be right. And the only way to do it is spot check it. And, you know, it's nothing fancy. We have no special secret sauce. We just have a different process than everybody else. I mean, that's really the only way I know how to explain it.
Higher quality control.
That's it. And, you know, I come from historically a value add background, right? And we're in a commodity market. So how do I take whatever product leaves this door to make it a value add product? Is that quality control? Is that a price? Is that standing by my product? Is that delivery times? Is it owning the supply chain from point A to point B? Is it holding stock, distributing mixed trucks for multifamily job sites? There's various different ways that we can skin the cat and make sure that that value is attained by that end user.
So, you know, you keep mentioning multifamily job sites. Is that your primary target?
No. I just know there's a lot of supply chain issues and there's a lot of issues that happen at multifamily job sites that are hard to track and trace, right? So if you go, let's use the quality claim you just mentioned, Mike. If you've got a guy that has a whole truck that's 104 and 3/8, right? What does he do? He's got a crew of framers standing around building a 300 unit complex. And say we're not in a historically depressed market like we are right now, and you can find 104 on every corner. What happens? It's a big problem.
I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, that's a massive issue. Yes.
Right. And a lot of the multifamily jobs, they're done based on piece counts, right? I need X amount of pieces. Well, what happens if your call rate's higher than you anticipate? There's another problem. Then, you know, when you look at manufactured and modular housing, how we approach that is obviously we have ongoing relationships. This isn't a project by project basis. It's a widely used item. So that some of that stuff is inventory. So if there's an issue with the unit, we replace it. Or if there's an issue with a truck, we replace it. And it's just that simple. The reason why I focus on that multifamily is because those supply chain issues or those issues cost real dollars by the minute, right? They're not standing there in a manufacturing facility with more inventory behind them to where they can replace it.
So, you know, everybody looks at the reman guys when the spread between studs and, you know, the whatever product you're making into a stud, for instance, is really wide. And you're like, oh, well, that's easy. You know, of course they're killing it right now. But what about the time when it's not? Like, what about when, you know, 116 and 5/8 studs are cheaper than 10 footers? Like, what do you do then? Like, you've got a stud line sitting there.
You continue to cut studs. What are you going to do? You lay people off? I mean, we're in the job creation business. We're in the team building business. You know, the pricing is obviously an indication of what we do day to day, but it's also what the finished good is, right? What's the goal? So if studs are cheaper than 10 foot, right? And say we have 10 foot, well, we find homes for mixed trucks. There's not a lot of people that have the capability to do that, right? We're in the wholesale trade business as well. So we can liquidate some of those positions based on what the market's doing, or we can take various approaches to kind of tweak that a little bit.
No, that makes sense. Just back to the grade stamp thing real quick. You're basically taking some of the wood that comes over that's non-grade stamped, correct? So there'd be a mill in Europe that doesn't have the certification, but they send their wood over, heat treated, of course, and then.
Well, what's interesting about our product, and this kind of goes into the quality control and the supply chain aspect that we have, the mill that we get our no grade stamp product is actually certified from the same people that audit us. So as far as quality goes, it's unmatched.
Got it. So, let's talk about trading for a little bit, which, is that everybody's fun topic these days, of course. What do you do that's different, do you think, than the industry would when you analyze the market? Like, how's your unique look at it?
I don't know if there's really a unique way to look at it. The biggest thing is you got to be able to remove emotion out of it. And you got to realize that it's a number on a piece of paper, and your first loss is your best loss, right? So if you're upside down, liquidate and move on and try to make up for it on shorts on the other side. We try to make sure that we're in the market every day. We're not, some huge conglomerate. So we can do it a lot better and a lot faster and a lot more flexible than some of our bigger competition. And I think that's where the key is, right? If we go out and take a position and we're able to sell and then the market turns, we're able to flex and bend with the market more fluidly than somebody that's got 45, 50 traders sitting on the floor. And 10 guys are trading pine, 10 guys are trading Canadian, 10 guys are trading Southern or European spruce. They've got a bunch of irons in the fire to where they've got to figure out how to play that and mitigate losses. Yep. And then on top of it, it's easier for us to hedge our bets than it is somebody that size as well.
Last week we had John Mattingly on the show, and he made a comment about materials exchange, and it goes back to what you just said about taking your loss quick. And he said he likes the digital marketplace because it gets access for him to get out of a position quicker. And I agree with you 100%. Like, very rarely do I get upset because I get out of a loser and then it turns into a winner. I'm more upset when I don't get out of the loser and it just keeps going. And it gets to the point where well, I can't take this big a loss. I'll just hold. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Never gets any better.
It doesn't. It's amazing how you can clear your brain when you do that, for sure, right? Current market. What do you think here? This is it's been pretty interesting.
That's like kryptonite, Mike. I don't think anybody can tell you what's going to happen. I mean, you got to go with the people that are buying, right? You got to find ways to move wood. Once again, being in the market every day and the scale that we're in the market, it gives us the opportunity to scratch itches a lot faster and a lot more fluid than some of our competition. We were lucky enough, so there's really no other way to describe it, right? Lucky enough to be in a position to where we've been able to average down our existing inventory pretty fast. And I had a gut feeling that June was going to be the telltale of what was going on. And second week of June or into the first week of June, it just and we just liquidated. And what we got stuck with is what we own, and we've kind of followed it on the way down. And we're pretty close to where the wholesale market is now on anything that we own on the ground.
We keep talking about speed. And it's true. Speed of information, number one, is key, and then reacting to it. Shameless plug here, but what do you think of the information speed that comes through materials exchange?
Oh, I enjoy it. That's why we joined. I think I told you and Ash in early conversations that it gives us an alternative liquidity source, right? Whether it's for a winner or a loser, either way, right? It gives us an opportunity to use all facets and all avenues that are available to us. And quite frankly, if you're not using all your tools that are at your disposal, how good are you, right? That's like a carpenter showing up without a hammer or without a nail or a screwdriver. It's kind of a given. And the information that we get based on some of these weekly calls and what we see on the marketplace on both the buy and sell side is priceless. Information runs this business.
That's it. So Ash and I were actually talking about you last night, and all good, of course. But I know one of the things that he and I have enjoyed as we got to know you is the fact that you don't have baggage. You don't have a legacy that you're carrying with you into your business. Like you said, it's 2016, you hung the shingle out, right?
Yep.
It's so often you hear about this is the way it's always been done, or, I already have the existing relationships. I think one of the keys to your, fast success with your company has been this no baggage. It's like you don't have the blinders on. You look at everything. It's a beautiful thing. I compliment you on that.
I appreciate that.
So we're gonna finish this up. Unless if there's any questions, I don't know. I mean, this is an opportunity to talk to someone in the trenches. We answered that question. Value add, great information. So the last question of the day: what does Charles see that no one else sees? Like when you go to your cocktail party of lumberjacks and everyone's talking about, this, you're like, I see it going the exact opposite way. Or like, what are you seeing in our industry, looking in the future as that other people don't see?
I guess that's a really subjective question, right? Because taking the emotion out of it and looking at strictly based on information, and if you compare apples to apples, obviously everybody's going to have a different way to understand that information, right? The simplest way that I look at it, especially when I look at some of my counterparts and some of the relationships we have in the business, we're not only is our admin office in a small town, but our manufacturing and our sales office is in a town of 4,000 people. So when I talk to these guys that are from big cities, all over the country, in Texas, Florida, wherever, it's interesting because I see from a housing starts perspective, you look at some of the track home guys and how they've moved into our tiny demographic because of the land grab deal that's going on in the state of South Carolina, because the state of South Carolina has really done well in recruiting manufacturing. And when you see track home builders coming and grabbing 50, 60, 70, 150 acres at a time in a county historically that has 35 to 40,000 people as population, that tells you right there that they see demand. So you lean on people that are bigger than you to help educate you on the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's something, what you just said there is you're starting to look at the second and the third derivative down the line.
Have to.
If you want to know demand, who bought the land? Because they're not buying the land to go hunting on it. They're buying
No.
They're going to put some houses up.
Yep.
And yeah, that's great. I think too often people will focus in on what's happening next week, next month, as opposed to, let's position ourselves and not be surprised by the fact that, the Chicago market's dead. Okay. The Nashville market's hot. What's the next one that's going to die? And what's the next one that's going to get hot? Sounds like South Carolina might be the place to be.
Well, I mean, you look at what's happening in Charlotte and Greenville and Charleston as a multifamily and single family residential construction. I mean, both those places have blown up. I think Greenville and Charleston were named top 2 places to live in the country, and we're right in the middle of it. So at some point, all roads will connect. Hopefully not, because I like my space, but.
No, that's understood. So if someone sees a unit of studs come in and it's going to have industrial forest products wrap on it, what do they know about that?
What do they know? They know that it's going to be a quality product. They know it's going to be visually graded and your measurement's going to be right. And if it's not, we'll stand by the product. You have to. Perfect. Performance is key. Price is just a number on a piece of paper. And I think we've realized that not only in the volatility, but also the freight market over the past 18 months.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate all this information, and we appreciate your support. There's no doubt. I know that there are plans for Materials Exchange to grow with industrial forest products.
We look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a safe, happy weekend. For the Canadians, quit sending your smoke down to Chicago. It's the craziest thing. Chicago has hazy skies because of the smoke coming out of Canada. And Charles, I hope the mosquitoes don't carry you away.
No, they won't. Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.